Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Insightful Accountant webinar. Bill Automation Tech Stack, Establishing Proper Financial Controls for Accounts Payable, sponsored by ApprovalMax. Insightful Accountant is an online news and information source written for small business advisors interested in the latest news and offerings in accounting technology. My name is Emily Hedrick, and I'll be your webinar host. If you have any questions during the session, please enter them in the Q&A box and we'll try to address them. Everyone that has registered will receive a follow-up email with the handout and recording later today. Today, our speakers from ApprovalMax are Maria Kozlova, Head of Marketing, and Konstantin Bredyuk, Director of Product. Maria, whenever you're ready, you can get started.
Yes, thank you very much. So this is our first webinar with the Insightful Accounting platform, and we are very, very much excited about it. So indeed, we will be talking about a bill automation app stack using Receipt Bank and ApprovalMax and ways to establish proper financial controls for accounts payable for QuickBooks Online. Again, just a little bit more about who we are. So Maria Kozlova, and I lead marketing at ApprovalMax. Let me actually switch to the next slide. Yeah, so Konstantin leads product development and ApprovalMax, and he will be helping us with the demo part. Hello, Konstantin.
Yes, hi everyone.
So a few words about ApprovalMax. ApprovalMax is basically, we provide approval automation for cloud accounting platforms such as QuickBooks Online, and we have been in the QuickBooks Online ecosystem for a while with our purchase order automation solution. And since recently, we have also launched a bill automation solution in partnership with Receipt Bank for QuickBooks Online. So we will be touching on that a little bit more as we speak. So if you don't mind, for us to better understand who we have today with us and how familiar you are with the two products that we mentioned, Receipt Bank and ApprovalMax. Could we run a quick poll to see if we have Receipt Bank users, advanced users, and so the same for ApprovalMax. So I hope answers are coming in.
Yeah, we'll give about 10 more seconds for votes.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can go on to the second question and about ApprovalMax. Yep. This information will help us tailoring this story, maybe adding some more details in case we have advanced users, just naming the case and skipping some details, or just starting covering the story from the startup. So I guess it will take a couple more seconds and we're done, right? So what are the results? Okay, ApprovalMax, there. We have ApprovalMax users with us today. Fantastic. But the majority are not familiar with ApprovalMax. Perfect. Thank you very much. And Receipt Bank, interesting. Half of our today's audience are not so much Receipt Bank users. Also very interesting. I think, Konstantin, this will be very, very useful information for you so that you could provide some more details for us. Let me start and save time for the demo part. So on the path towards higher efficiency, essential is process and data automation, and there are essential components to that. First is that you have your data fully digital and in cloud, and of course, QuickBooks Online is key to enabling that as a system of records. Also, Receipt Bank as a data capture tool and a pre-accounting solution is also a great enabler to that. So secondly, you need to have your workflows, you have to have your processes well defined and on the surface, meaning that they're kind of in a print ready view for you, and you don't, in case you need to get a clear understanding of how actually the workflow runs. You do not have to start a complicated discovery via emails or conversations with the staff, but you can take a quick look and verify that that's working right. So thirdly, making sure that all activities, especially those that are related to authorizations, are fully traceable and that you have your information in the real-time mode and available for reporting. So when we think about accounts payable, primarily we think about spend control. And there are also, there are three key steps towards ensuring end-to-end spend control. So first one, as an essential step, you have financial planning and budgeting. And granularity of budgets can vary depending on the business need you have, on the size of the organization that you're advising, and a lot of other parameters. And this will not be the focus of our today's conversation. But the second and the third components will be what we want to talk about. So proactive spend control and reactive spend control. So first of all, so proactive spend control, you may want to introduce a proactive spend control via purchase order automation for cases that you want to prevent non-essential spending. And regarding reactive spend control, that is down to bill authorization and payment trans authorization. And we will have a better, some more details further on. So in terms of a process flow view, this is what proactive spend control can look like using ApprovalMax. As you can see, you can create purchase orders in ApprovalMax. And now that we know that there are ApprovalMax users with us today, I'm pretty much sure that you're familiar with the concept. So using purchase orders with ApprovalMax, so we're not spending too much time on that. So very quickly, you can create purchase orders in ApprovalMax. You can approve purchase orders, and the granularity of the approval process can be tailored to the authorization requirements that your organization has. So fully approved purchase orders will be pushed to QuickBooks Online. So what is actually new and the key focus of our today's presentation is the bill automation process and the kind of the reactive spend control part that we talked about. Here there are three components. There is bill fetching, and it can be done in several ways. Firstly, you can create purchase orders, or you can create bills in ApprovalMax, and this is something that we have recently introduced as our capability, as ApprovalMax capability for QuickBooks Online. So this feature is more in demand for small businesses in cases they're contractors, for example, and instead of having them to log into QuickBooks Online and enter bill details, invoice details into QuickBooks Online, so we can have ApprovalMax, and you can limit access rights to those who are logging into ApprovalMax. You can create bills there, and further on, the bills will be again approved according to the multi-step and the multi-role authorization process that you have defined, and then submitted to QuickBooks Online. So alternatively, for cases that require handling of multiple bills, multiple invoices, there is the second component. There is the recently launched direct integration of Receive Bank to ApprovalMax for QuickBooks Online. And what happens here is that Receive Bank can scan invoices and I believe expenses also. Konstantin can correct me here if that's in beta version or something. But basically, Receive Bank takes care of the digital invoice capture and then submits the invoices to ApprovalMax. ApprovalMax takes care of the approval process again, based on the parameters that we pull from QuickBooks Online, such as vendors, such as suppliers, so you name it, basically any kind of parameter that is reflected in QuickBooks Online, we can pull it, and we can build an approval process based on rules that reflect those parameters. So again, this we will have Konstantin walk us through in more detail in terms of how that works in the product. And so yeah, let me encourage everyone to ask questions as I speak. So we will have a dedicated Q&A session after the demo part. So here, just to reiterate, so in terms of the bill automation tech stack for QuickBooks Online, we talk about Receipt Bank for data capture. We talk about ApprovalMax for approval workflow automation, and the benefits that you get from this joint solution. It's fully digital workflows. You have very granular approval processes. You have automated audit reports. You can approve bills on the go, and many other great features that come with that. So finally, and I think I'm very much ahead of time, but that's even better. So let me cover several key points, several benefits of the ApprovalMax solution for Receipt Bank and for QuickBooks Online. So first of all, again, that is automated review and authorization. Secondly, you have automated audit trail, and you have automated notifications to approvers. Thirdly, you have ability to raise purchase orders on our phone, on our mobile. You can approve requests on the go, and you have custom reports. You can build your own reports. You can have exceptions handling for cases that have not been reflected in the approval matrix, such as, for example, delegation of approval decisions or forcing approval decisions and things like that. And so finally, there is fraud prevention capabilities, such as tracking if a bill has been approved outside of the approval process and things like that. So Konstantin, now I think it's my time to hand it over to you to walk us through the product.
Sure, happy to do so. So let me actually start sharing the screen. And yeah, here it is. One sec. Google Chrome. Okay, you should see my screen now. So yeah, that is the demo part. And during this demo part, I'll show how the solution that Maria was talking about actually looks like and works. And actually, I'll touch all three products. I'll talk a little bit about Receipt Bank. I'll talk also about QuickBooks Online in sense of how it fits this particular workflow. And of course, the biggest part will be about AprilMax, how it is configured, and how it connects to both of these products. And meanwhile, I see that we keep receiving questions, which I like a lot. It means that we will be talking about we'll be able to talk about specifics that are interesting for our attendees, which is very nice. Good. So let me do it the following way. I see that some questions are quite advanced, to be honest. So let me do it the following way. So we'll start with the demo, and some questions might be answered during the demo itself, and then of course I'll go for all the remaining questions and we'll answer them all. So Receipt Bank to AprilMax to QuickBooks Online, how does it work? First of all, the way how these three tools are connected. Based on the slide that Maria has shown, you can see that Receipt Bank is taking care of processing the data and is pushing data to AprilMax. AprilMax is taking care of the approval workflow. It is sending notifications. It applies all the rules. And once everyone approves a particular bill, then AprilMax is pushing it to QuickBooks Online. And here's the QuickBooks Online, and all the fully approved bills, they appear here, right? So let us see how it works in a little bit more details. First of all, Receipt Bank. In Receipt Bank, you have this integrations area that is you can find here under connections. And if you are using Receipt Bank currently already in connection to QuickBooks Online, well, you know where it is, right? You have already connected Receipt Bank to QuickBooks Online. And actually, exactly in the same dialog where you connect Receipt Bank to QuickBooks Online, you can actually change this connection. And you can say that, okay, instead of pushing bills to QuickBooks Online, Receipt Bank now should be pushing bills to AprilMax. And here you can see this integration. Let me mention that this integration is currently under beta. So if you want it to be enabled for you, let us know. It's a very quick exercise. Just let us know. We'll enable it for you, and Receipt Bank will enable it for you. And then you'll be able to see QuickBooks Online integration here. As a side note, AprilMax for Geo integration is already there. It's available already for everyone. The difference is that AprilMax for Geo is in public beta, meaning that it is available for everyone already. And QuickBooks Online integration is in private beta, so just let us know and we will switch it on for you. It will go to a public beta in, well, depends on some circumstances, I would say. On a high level, it will take us maybe a couple of weeks to make a public beta out of it. So what is important here, you need to connect Receipt Bank to AprilMax, and at the same time, AprilMax needs to be connected to QuickBooks Online. So there is a three-step process. Actually, in order to illustrate how this process works, let me show you Aprilmax configuration, and let me show the approval workflow in Aprilmax because it will be answering lots of the questions. So let me go to approval workflows area in Aprilmax. Here it is, and let me go specifically to bill creation and approval workflow. That's how it looks like. The first step is when bills are received, and they could be, as Maria has mentioned, created manually in Aprilmax. That's possible to do, and they could be received via Receipt Bank, right? So once Receipt Bank is connected to Aprilmax, you push a document in Receipt Bank, and it appears in Aprilmax. Right? That's the idea. Once the bill arrives to Aprilmax, it starts going for a multi-step authorization workflow, and this is the best part of Aprilmax, to be honest. Approval workflow in Aprilmax is very flexible, and you can configure it to address needs of pretty much any organization. So let me talk about the workflow. So first of all, it is a multi-step workflow, and it means that you could have a sequential authorization flow that includes different authorization levels. In my particular case, I have configured a two-step process in a way that first bills are authorized by managers, and then bills that exceed certain threshold, they are authorized in addition by Chief Financial Officer. Well, but of course, we can make it a little bit more interesting. We can create one more step. We can call it, say, board approval. And we can add a couple of board members here. So let me add board member 1. It's a fake email. It's just for demo purposes. It's not real board members. And member of the board 2. And now we have a 3-step workflow. So that's how easy it is to configure the workflow in Aprilmax. And that's just the first part. The second part is that in each step, there is so-called approval matrix. And approval matrix allows you to define rules based on different criteria that would automatically route bills to different people based on the data in the bill, based on the specific. For example, I have added 3 approvers here, Lisa, Mark, and myself, and I have configured a rule based on the category of the bill. And it is saying that if category is car and truck or contractors, then it should go to Lisa for approval. If it is repairs and maintenance, then it will go to myself, to Konstantin. And if this bill is not matching any of these categories, so it's kind of negative type of the condition, category does not match, then it will go to the third approver, Mark. That is one of the possible ways how Aprilmax could be configured. Not the only one, right? You could be using other fields, such as requester of the bill, such as amount of the bill, which is used a lot, to be honest, vendor, that has sent you this this bill, and product and service, right? So these are the fields that you could be using, and actually it could be configured in a way that more than one field is used. So you can configure ApprovalMax in a way that if bill is related to current track and at the same time it exceeds, say, 5,000, then it should go to a particular manager. So it's possible to use a combination of fields. So that is an approval matrix for the first step that I have defined. And then in the second step, we currently have an approval matrix that is saying that if bill exceeds 10,000, then it should go to the CFO for approval. It means that if a particular bill does not exceed the threshold of 10,000, it will not go to CFO, and CFO will not be notified about it. And we see that such rules are used a lot, rules based on the amount, because CFOs and chief executive officer, they do not want to see all the bills, right? They don't want to approve each and every bill that is maybe for $50, right? CFO and other managers, they prefer to be involved in, well, they want to be involved into those bills that exceed the threshold, or maybe that are coming from a particular supplier, from a particular vendor. That is also perfectly possible to configure. And finally, the first step, board approval. Since we have just added this step, there are no rules configured here at all. And well, let us configure them. And that will be another illustration of how straightforward it is. So I'm clicking on this member of the board number 1, and I add a threshold of, well, let it be 100,000. Should be good enough for our needs. And for the second member of the board, I add the same rule. So what does it mean? It means that if a particular bill exceeds 100,000, it will go to both board members, and they both will need to authorize. For some cases, that's exactly what we need. We want to have approval of both board members, but in some cases, and that's quite a typical situation, it should be just one of the board members. And we do cover such case. We have so-called approval condition. So you could say that, well, in this particular step, it's applied for a particular step, not for other steps. In this board approval step, we want it to work in any of way. So once one of the board members approves, the bill is authorized, and we don't need to wait for the next board member, right? So that is the configuration for the first step. Now I click update the workflow, and what is happening right now, Aprilmax is saying, well, looks like you already have a bill that is going through the approval process. Would you like to start over the workflow for this particular bill? And well, that's another indication of how flexible Aprilmax is, because, well, you can decide. You can actually start over workflow for particular bills and keep the workflow the same for other bills. And there are use cases, there are real life scenarios for both situations. Imagine there is a situation where you have a dozen of bills that are already going through the approval workflow, and they have passed 2 first steps of the approval process, and they are waiting in the first step. Then you change the workflow, and well, in this particular case, you might want to allow them to go through the previous version of the workflow. Well, why do you need to start them over? They're perfectly okay, right? I mean, you don't want to start them over because changes that you have made, they are for the first step or for the second step, right? So you don't want to restart it. There could be another case. For example, you change the workflow. It's a very, very significant change, and you actually want all those bills that are currently going through the process to follow the new workflow. You can do that. Approvers will be notified, and this start over event, it will be properly logged in the history. So it will be very transparent for everyone that, well, what happened is that the workflow has been started over. Let me do it actually in this case. Let me click on this bill that is currently going through the workflow, and let me click start over. And the workflow for this particular bill will be restarted, right? So that is the workflow in AprilMax. And actually, as I have mentioned, it kind of illustrates how all these 3 systems connect to each other. Because the Receipt Bank is connected in this step. It is pushing bills, it is creating bills in AprilMax. While QuickBooks Online is connected here in the very last step. It is, the step is all about pushing bills to QuickBooks Online once they are fully approved. right? So that's the core idea of the workflow. Let me now make a step back, and I hope you will not get lost, because actually I have all the 3 tabs here in the browser on top of the screen. So I'm switching back to the sheet bank just to illustrate, besides this connection part, where actually bills are created and how do you push them for processing. Well, for those advanced sheet bank users, it will be kind of obvious information. Sorry about that, right? So if you are using Aprilmax, it will be all, sorry, if you're using the sheet bank, it will be all very clear to you. But anyway, so in the sheet bank, you have different, well, workspaces, as they are called. And there is a cost workspace, and there are different filters, right? And when you create a new document by clicking on this Add Documents button, it appears first in the In Processing tab, because, well, it needs to be first processed. Then it is time to review this bill and to maybe change the category for the bill. Finally, once everything is done, then you click Publish this document to kind of to the next system, which is Aprilmax in the sense, and then it will appear as published. So I'm not going through all these steps because, well, some of them are quite basic to save us some time. And I'm jumping right to the step where we have a published document that I have published a couple of hours ago when I was getting ready for this webinar. And that's a bill that I have uploaded to Receipt Bank. It took Receipt Bank some time. That's why I'm not doing it real time. So it took Receipt Bank some time, maybe 20 minutes or so, to process this bill. Then they have said, yeah, all done, all set. They have done a very good job, by the way. They have extracted all the information. And then I have pressed publish button, and, well, believe it or not, this bill has appeared in Aprilmax. So as a next logical step, let me go back to Aprilmax, and let us take this bill that has been pushed to Aprilmax a couple of hours ago. So I'm closing the workflow now. I'm clicking on this navigation bar. And since I have opened this navigation bar, let me give you a very high-level overview of what we see here. First of all, we see organizations here. There are two organizations, and, well, as you can tell by the names, they are both test organizations. That's my second name and current date. That's just demo company UK. And each organization in Aprilmax, it could be connected to a particular QuickBooks Online file, right? Or 0 file, right? And you could have any number of organizations here. And it means that if you have a case of multi-entity organization, we see a lot of them, then, well, it's perfectly supported by Aprilmax. You just see all these organizations here in the list. And on the one hand, they have kind of independent workflow setup, independent security. So if you want some members to be a part of this organization and you do not want this members to be a part of another organization, that is perfectly possible to configure. On the other hand, if you do have some people that need to be a part of both organizations, that's possible to do. And what is important, they will not need to switch. All those bills that they need to authorize, they will be coming into the same place, into the same list that is called decision required list, right? So that was basic introduction about the navigation bar. And let us go exactly to this decision required list that I have just mentioned. I'm going here, and here in this list, approvers see those bills that they need to authorize. What is important? Approvers, they see only those bills that they need to authorize according to the rules configured in Aprilmax. So based on this particular workflow that I have configured, I am the approver of those bills that are related to repairs and maintenance category, and that's why I have received this bill. And as you can see here in the preview of the workflow, no other approver has received this bill. Neither Mark or Lisa can see this bill now. Only I can see it. And what is also important to mention here is that you see that CF4 and board approval steps, they are kind of completed. They are pre-approved for a very simple reason, because according to the workflow, those bills that do not exceed the threshold, they do not need to go to CF4 and they don't need to go to the board for approval, exactly according to the rules that we have defined. And it means that I'm the only approver of this bill. Well, it's not a surprise, it's just for 20 USD. We don't want to bother CFO about that. And once I click approve, this bill will be synced to QuickBooks Online, right? That is the core concept of how this works. And well, I think that is actually the time to switch to Q&A session. I'll answer some of the questions that are relevant to what we have just covered, and then I'll continue the demo part, and then actually I can switch back to the Q&A and answer remaining questions. The first question is, do you need Receipt Bank to use AprilMax? Well, you could be using Receipt Bank in connection to AprilMax and to QuickBooks Online. It does provide some very nice benefits. It's a fully automated workflow from submitting a bill to Receipt Bank via approval and via final pushing to QuickBooks Online. So it could be used, and it's a very nice solution, but it's not a mandatory thing. And let me actually illustrate how you could do that without Receipt Bank. So let me go back to the approval workflow configuration, and let me go to the bill workflow. And here in the bill creation step, actually you can define requesters, those people who will be able to create a bill and submit it for approval. Important note here, we do not do the data extraction, right? So if you have a PDF, Aprilmax will not extract the data, right? That's what Receipt Bank is doing. They are very good, and we trust that they are doing a very good job. We are not trying to do that. But what's possible to do is to just manually create a bill and submit it for approval. And let me illustrate actually how it works. In the top right corner of the screen, there is a new request button, and those people who are added as requesters in the bill workflow, they are able to actually create bills in Aprilmax. So let me click here. I have selected the bill. I have now clicked on the create request button. Aprilmax will think for a second and will show us the bill creation form. And the bill creation form, it looks pretty much as a bill creation form in QuickBooks Online. There is vendor selection, bill details selection, category table, line items table, memo, pretty much all the same, right? We have just kind of replicated the form from QuickBooks Online. By the way, let me answer a very popular question. So currently you see that there are two tables here, category 1 and line items 1. And a typical question is, well, can we just hide one of them? And the answer is yes, you can hide one of them. In the approval workflow area, there is a settings area. And there you can say that, well, I don't want to use product or line item table at all. I just want to use category table. That's perfectly fine. Or vice versa, you can hide category table, which makes less sense, but anyway, it's completely up to you. Another important thing to mention here is that all the data is, of course, synchronized with QuickBooks Online. And it means that you do not need to re-enter all this, I would say, supplementary information, such as vendors, categories, products, and all the things. They are all picked up in real time from QuickBooks Online. So let me select the vendor that is already added to QuickBooks Online. Let me pick some category. Let it be repairs and maintenance. Let me add some amount, just 1, 2, 3, should be good enough. And finally, let me click submit for approval right away. And you will see that Aprilmax is now saying, well, you cannot do that. You need to select a due date. So we are doing quite a lot of validations here, and we do not allow creation of invalid bills, which is very important. Finally, I click submit for approval, and this bill is now submitted for approval, and you see that it is assigned to myself for approval. It's kind of a test scenario, right? So typically, those people who create bills, they do not approve them, but to simplify the demonstration, I have configured it the way that I'm approving my own bills. Well, actually, that is because the category is set to repairs and maintenance. That's exactly what we have done in the configuration. That's why I'm approving this bill. To summarize, it is possible to have 3 systems in place: Receipt Bank, Aprilmax, QuickBooks Online. If you don't want to use Receipt Bank, that's perfectly fine. You could be creating bills in Aprilmax. And in Aprilmax, you can actually, it gives certain benefits, of course, because you can decide who should be able to create bills, and you can actually put some restrictions for the bill creation. So let me go to Approval workflow. Let me go to bill workflow again. And let me now click on this matrix button here on table button. It is so-called requester matrix. And here you can actually set restrictions. For example, you can define whether a particular requester should be or should be not able to create new suppliers, new vendors. And currently, Konstantin cannot create new vendors. And well, it is important for actually fraud prevention sometimes. I can add Lisa, and I can actually tick this checkbox for Lisa, and Lisa will be able to create new vendors. Why not? And then you could be actually using categories. So you can say that when Konstantin creates a bill, Konstantin should not be able to select any category. They should be only able to select one of these three, just for example, right? So yeah, back to the question, possible to use without a receipt bank. So let me, I think it has been already marked as answered. So good, let me switch to the next one. How long does it take publishing to, how long does the publishing take from receipt bank to Aprilmax? Well, the publishing itself, I mean, when you click publish button in receipt bank, it takes almost nothing. It's just seconds, right? After you click publish, before it arrives to Aprilmax. But well, there is a receipt bank processing time, and well, it varies for different types of bills. So if you have a very nice, very clear bill you submit it to receipt bank, it will do the job very, very quickly. If you have, well, not that good photo of a bill with some marks on it, for example, you had a cup of coffee on it a couple of times, right? Then, well, receipt bank will need more time to recognize the information because, well, it's not, the photo is not of the best quality. So yeah, the pushing itself, the publishing for receipt bank to Aprilmax, almost instant. The processing time in receipt bank, well, it depends on the quality of a particular bill. Generally, receipt bank is doing quite a good job, so they're quite fast. So let me click answered. Good. Then the next question would be, oops, sorry, maybe I have marked the wrong question as answered. Let me double check. Okay, the next question is, I'm curious about Aprilmax and Coupa. Could you please talk about this? Well, that's a good question. Coupa, on a high level, is doing similar things, right? They are also taking care of accounts payable. They have lots of different modules. They are quite good. But, well, to summarize it in kind of one sentence, they are doing it on a little bit more advanced level, meaning that, well, they are for bigger guys, and it is reflected in lots of different aspects, starting from configuration complexity to pricing and to all such things, right? So we are similar in the sense of what we're doing in the essence, what are the benefits, but they are doing it on a different level in very many senses, right? Let me click answered. Okay, do you see the chart of accounts in Aprilmax or just the bill itself? Well, the chart of accounts, it is synchronized from QuickBooks Online, and in all the key places where you need to see chart of accounts or categories, you will see it, right? For example, during bill creation, as we have seen during Aprilmax tricks configuration, in reports, actually, because you could be filtering based on categories. In all these key places, it is shown, right? And yeah, it is synchronized from QuickBooks Online. No need to enter all this data manually. Let me mark this as done. The next question is, can you upload the PDF of the invoice in Aprilmax? Yes, when the bill is created, you can upload PDF. As I have mentioned, we will not do the magic. We will not extract the data from the PDF, right? That's not what Aprilmax does. But yes, of course, you can upload the PDF. And if there is a file attached into a receipt bank, in case we're talking about receipt bank integration, of course, the file will appear here in Aprilmax. Let me actually show that. So I'm going back to the bill that has been pushed via receipt bank. Actually, you see the logo of receipt bank, and it is saying receipt from receipt bank. And here's the file. You can click on the file, and you can actually do a side-by-side comparison. So you can see, okay, that was the original bill. That's how it looks like. And this is the bill that we are currently supposed to approve. And you can just double check. Yeah, it's matching 20 USD, 20 USD, supplier is matching, all is good. Then you click approve. Or if you don't like it, you click reject, which is also perfectly fine, right? Good. Okay, so that is the file thing. And then let me switch to the next question. Oh, one sec, answered live. Please explain that the same type of approval mechanism applies to purchase orders. Yeah, well, that is a very important thing. We do cover both bills and purchase orders. And let me add some background here. That is what Maria mentioned, and let me reiterate this thing. The thing is that bill approval is a very important and nice thing, and that is a very good starting point to make sure that you control the spendings. But at the same time, it is kind of reactive, meaning that if approver receives a bill for approval, it means that, well, most likely goods have already been delivered and services have been provided. And, well, very likely it will be hard to negotiate already with a supplier in case that it should not have happened, right? In case you should not have ordered this stuff at all, right? So during bill approval process, you can define, you can see duplicates. You can of course prevent and detect some fraud, but it is oftentimes too late to say that you don't want to have these goods at all, right? And for that, there is a special process to have additional layer of control, which is purchase order workflow. Let us talk about this workflow. The core idea of purchase order workflow is that you approve the intention to buy something, right? So instead of approving kind of when you have already received an invoice, this is approval happening before supplier knows that, well, you want to buy something from them. And you can define some rules pretty similar to the bill approval process. And within these rules, you can define, well, who should be approving different types of purchases. For example, in my particular purchase order workflow configuration, I have 3 purchase order requesters, Lisa, Mark, and myself. So we are all able to create purchase orders and submit them for approval. Then we have just one-step approval process. Why not, right? Purchase order workflow could be completely different from bill workflow. It's all up to you. And as a part of this single approval step, we have 2 approvers. And in this case, approver is automatically defined when a purchase order is submitted for approval based on the requester of the purchase order. I have configured it the way that CFO approves those purchase orders that are submitted by Lisa and Mark, while Lisa approves those purchase orders that are submitted by Konstantin. So there's kind of 2-eye principle. It's not like Lisa can order anything, right? Lisa's purchase orders, they are approved by CFO, and I cannot just approve anything because my purchase orders are approved by Lisa, right? Why not? That is one of the possible ways to configure the purchase order workflow. What is very important here is that Aprilmax could automatically email purchase order to the supplier, and it has certain benefits. First of all, it makes sure that purchase order is not modified somewhere in between approval and between sending to the supplier, right? Aprilmax ensures that the purchase order that is being approved by clicking approve button, that's exactly the purchase order that is sent to the supplier that has been selected, right? So there is no fraud happening here. And the second thing is, of course, convenience, right? Well, why should someone return back to the purchase order that they have created a week ago to send it to the supplier? Well, you can do everything in one step. You define a purchase order and say, well, I want this purchase order to be sent to the supplier upon final approval, and it will be. Let me actually do that. Let me click a new request button. Let me create a purchase order, and let me, well, similarly to the bill creation, add some basic information here. Let me select the vendor. Let me select a category, and let me select some amount. And here is the key difference of purchase order creation form from the bill creation form. That's exactly what I have mentioned right now. in the purchase order creation form, it's possible to define an email that will be automatically sent to the supplier upon final approval of the purchase order. And you can add all the details here, like subject of the email, body of the email, who should receive this email, who should be CC'd, etc. And what Aprilmax will do upon final approval, it will create a nice looking PDF based on the template defined in QuickBooks Online and send this email together with the PDF attached. And it's possible to actually add additional attachments here. So if you'd like a supplier to receive not just the email with the purchase order, but with some additional information, maybe approved quote that you have discussed sometime, maybe some specification, why not? Also could be the case, you can do that. So these attachments, they will be sent to the supplier, while these attachments, they are internal ones, they will not be sent to the supplier. So some flexibility that Aprilmax provides here. So finally, I click submit for approval. Aprilmax is now processing the workflow. And in this case, I have made it a little bit more interesting. So this purchase order, it was not assigned to myself based on the rules. It was assigned to Lisa for approval, right? And I see this purchase order in my open request list. This is the list of all those purchase orders that I have submitted for approval. So I can just check the status. And I can ask Lisa, well, hi, Lisa, how's it going? Could you please authorize my purchase order because I want these things to be delivered before Christmas, right? Yes, another important thing to mention here, both approvers and requesters, they are notified about all the key events happening. For example, when there is a new bill that should be authorized by approver, this approver is notified with email notification. And currently see on the screen how such notification looks like. And it means that approvers, they do not need to remember that they need to go somewhere and find the bills that they need to approve and approve them. They are notified. They just receive a notification, they see all the details, they are saying, oh, okay, that's fine. And they can click approve button in the email or reject button in the email. Or that's another magical feature that we have. They can just type approve or approved, and this will be recorded as approval decision. So Aprilmax will process this reply and they will see, okay, this bill is approved based on this text message, which is quite a cool feature. And another thing to mention here, we do have mobile apps that allow to do lots of things within Aprilmax. The most important use case is approval. So approvers are notified with push notifications on the go when they are not at their laptop, not at their PC, and they can just review a particular bill or a purchase order and say, okay, it looks good, approve, or maybe also sometimes reject. And you could be creating also documents on the go from the mobile application. So that is another part that I wanted to cover. Good, thanks a lot for asking this question. Let me switch back to the list of questions. I have taken care of this one. The next question is it possible to view the side-by-side view by default when approving bills? Well, if I'm not mistaken, and sorry if I am, Aprilmax actually remembers the last way how you have seen attachments, whether it was side by side or not. We can test it right away. So let me go to this bill. Let me click on it. Yes, it is side by side. So yeah, it just remembers the last view, right? And if the last one was side by side, all the new ones will be open in side by side view. So yeah, I'm happy it works this way. Good. Let me click answer live and done. The next question is, this webinar is about partnership with Receipt Bank. Any chance you are also working with Bill.com? Well, that's a very good question. So we currently do not have a direct integration with Bill.com. That's not the case. But actually, Bill.com could be the fourth solution in the line. So they could be picking up bills from QuickBooks Online, and then they could be paid in Bill.com. that's our idea of how this works. So to be honest, I'm not that big expert in build.com myself. I know that's how it works, and we are not kind of breaking up this process. It could be working the way it works now. And there are, so it could be 4 solutions in the line: Receipt Bank, AprilmaX, QuickBooks Online, and build.com to cover all the parts of the end-to-end process. This question is answered. The next question is, can the purchase order template be modified? For example, change the language on the form. Well, that's an interesting question. Speaking in general, there are some capabilities to modify the purchase order creation form, but it's not absolutely flexible, right? So let me show what are the options to modify the purchase order creation form. Let me go back to the purchase order workflow. Let me go to the first step, and let me mention once again, so you can actually just restrict requesters in terms of different fields, in terms of which values they should be able to select from. That is part of the form modification. Then actually you can decide which fields should be available here in terms of 2 tables, right? Whether it should be both category table and product table, just category table, or just product table. That is another type of configuration. And the third one is that you can give some kind of instruction for a requester saying, dear team members, when you are raising purchase orders, please be sure to add some comments here. Please be sure to attach a quote. Please be sure to attach specification, something like this. And this will appear for all those requesters who are raising purchase orders. So that is another type of purchase order creation form modification. But it's not that flexible so that you could change anything. No, that's not the case. Language currently is not, you cannot change. So it is English only, right? Good, let me mark this question as answered. Then the next question is, we use project accounting in QuickBooks Online and need a field for customer and class. Is it available? Well, good news. We support all the 3 key fields that can be defined in QuickBooks Online, which is class, location, and customer, right? So all these fields are supported. You can define rules based on these fields. You can restrict requesters based on these fields. So yeah, that's supported, and you're very welcome to use these fields in your Aprilmax configuration. The next question is, can you include projects from QuickBooks Online? And the related question is budgets. Well, projects themselves are not currently available there. So you could be selecting customer, but it is not currently linked to projects. And budgets are also currently not linked. That is something we do have in mind, by the way. So we have already investigated how it looks like in QuickBooks Online, and we do have connection to budgets for 0, just as a side note. So we're planning to cover budgets as well. It's not available right now, unfortunately. Okay, so that is another question about budget. Yeah, that will be happening a little bit later. There is another question. Is it possible to add files, docs to bills pending approval or rejected? For example, a bill was submitted without signed packing slip and approval rejected. Well, that's a very good question. So Aprilmax is, well, the core idea is to ensure compliance and ensure financial control. It means that you cannot do some things that would result in some inconsistent state of the bill. Let me rephrase it in simple words. A requester can change the bill. They can attach a document, but the workflow will be restarted, right? Let me bring an example. Someone creates a bill, it goes through a couple of steps, and then it is rejected, or maybe there's a comment posted saying, but well, please attach some file. The requester is able to do that. But Aprilmax will say, since there is a very significant change in the bill, well, attachment is a very significant change in our view, the workflow should be restarted and approvers will need to approve again. It could be considered a little bit of an overhead for those approvers who would be fine with this document anyway, but just to be safe, we ask approvers to approve once again, including this attachment. So that's how it works. So I have covered all the questions in the Q&A area. Let me go to chat and see if there are any questions in chat here. There are. And the first one is, does ApprovalMax work with QuickBooks Online? Sorry, not QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop. The answer is no, we don't work with QuickBooks Desktop, and most likely we are not going to support it, to be honest, because the overall trend is towards online. So in other words, we prefer to wait while those people who are using desktops, they are going to online, and then they have a solution by AprilMax. Can a bill be sent to a specific approver instead of going through the approval workflow? Well, there are some ways how to handle the cases where it could be not quite clear how to define rules. And that is a typical scenario. So many companies are starting with a case where they're just not sure how to define these rules. And what they do, they define here a step that they could call something like initial review. And in this initial review, they could add just one person. This person will be receiving all the bills or purchase orders, since I'm in the purchase order workflow, and they will be able to reassign. So it's kind of a semi-manual process. It still makes sense, even though you have 0 rules, automated ones, you have just one person who reassigns everything manually, it still makes sense, because Aprilmax provides notifications, it provides mobile access, it provides clear audit trail, so all the things are there. So even though this reassignment is done manually, it's perfectly fine. Typically, it's a first step in the automation process, because what is happening next is that this particular person who configures Aprilmax, they think, well, after 3 months, I know how the rules should be configured. These types of bills should be going here. This type of bills should be going to another person. And then they're configuring this automation rules. I see that we are almost out of time. So let me answer the last or 2 last questions, and then we'll be wrapping up already. Administrators are able to reassign an approval request. Okay, that is Helmut answering Naomi. Thanks a lot, Helmut. That's the perfectly correct answer, and that's quite similar to what I have mentioned right now. Well, we have 2 minutes left, so let me proceed to the last concluding part. So let me share this last slide that we have here. Just 1 second. Here it is. And
yes, and I guess, Konstantin, I will be handing it back from you. So thank you very much for covering this for us today, and thank you very much to Emily. And finally, to wrap up on what we have discussed, we very much encourage you, in case you're not yet a user of ApprovalMax, to go and take a free trial, and you can do that at ApprovalMax.com. And also, we would like to let you know that we are launching certification, basic certification, 101 certification of ApprovalMax, and the course will be available beginning December. So for details and to register for certification, please go to ApprovalMax.com/QBO, QuickBooks Online. We will be very happy to have you there. It is a 2-hour session, and upon attendance of the session, you will be receiving an ApprovalMax certificate to ensure stating that you have gone through the course for financial controls and approval automation. So again, thank you very much to everyone. And yes, again, as Emily mentioned, so you will be getting the recording of this session. You will be getting the PDF version of the session. For any questions, please be sure to write back to us, and we'll be very happy to provide additional details. And in case you want a specific demo, so we will be very happy to do that for you also. Again, let me thank all of our team, and hope to see you soon. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Maria,
thanks a lot for joining the webinar. Was very happy to see so many nice questions. Thanks a lot for joining.
Yes. Thank you.
Maria and Konstantin, thank you so much for being here with us. Everyone, thank you for joining us. as Maria said, I will get the webinar recording and presentation to everyone here later today. And I'll also get you a couple of the links from ApprovalMax so you're able to go to the trial and to get certified. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you all at the next Insightful Accountant webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.